going to use the unit circle to find sine, cosine, and tangent at negative pi over 6. And even though negative pi over 6 may not jump out at you as an angle that you do memorize from the unit circle, it actually is one that lands on the unit circle. So like all unit circle questions, step 1 is to find this location, and you could do this one of two ways. If you know how big positive pi over 6 is, it's the same as 30 degrees, or for that matter, you could even convert it to degrees to see what it was. Going this way is positive, so if I made the same amount of turn clockwise, that is one way to locate negative pi over 6. The other way is using coterminal angles, and you could say, well, I'm not too familiar with this, but if I added a revolution, see, adding 2 pi is like adding 12 pi over 6, which is coterminal to 11 pi over 6, and so that would be a second way to find that location. But it doesn't have to be perfect about where it is, but I need to be able to visualize it's got the big x value to the right, and the x value determines cosine. It's got the small y value down. Y value determines sine. Notice I went to the right, so this is positive. I went down, so this is negative. And then tangent, I don't know, a few weeks from now, you're probably going to just want to memorize the tangent values because you're going to get tired of doing this. But since tangent is sine divided by cosine, we can always just divide our fractions. It just takes an extra minute. Change it from dividing fractions to multiplying fractions. Maybe reduce before you multiply, but don't leave it like this. This is not rationalized. You need to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3, which is okay, because anything divided by itself is 1, so I'm really just multiplying by 1. I'm not changing the size. And square root of 3 times square root of 3 would be square root of 9, but the square root of 9 is really just 3. So even though negative pi over 6 maybe isn't super familiar to you, it ends up being coterminal to 11 pi over 6, which we do memorize.